up? Frankie dancing during the intro might be my favorite thing. That was fantastic.
I was
Welcome.
hoping that you were watching the backstage dance moves.
Dancing to it. I loved it. You should have seen on Tom's show today. We had the incredible Ibn Ali, Muhammad Ali's nephew, and same thing. I can see him while the intro is playing, and it was Frankie made a great new intro for Tom's show. You guys got to check it out. But the intro is playing, and him and his friend are going, "Oh, like that's so awesome!" in the background. I just loved it. I thought it was great because it was a fun little hype. It's an awesome video you made, Frankie. You're awesome. But anyway, welcome to That's What She Said. We are on episode 10. We come at you guys every Thursday night. We try to do 8, but Brooke, who runs the world up here in Northern Nevada and is trying to, save the world along with us, and we're her biggest fans. She had a speaking event this evening, and she looks beautiful. And thank you for the work you do, Brooke. So we came on a little bit later, and we have the incredible Annie Renz with us tonight, and she's a great friend of ours. She's the beautiful wife of Mr. Tom Renz, which we all work with, and he is nice enough to help us broadcast this show on his network, and we just love Annie. And there's a lot of times, to be honest, where some of us can't make it to the show because we're all really busy, and I want to bring in Annie and all of our friends so that, if one of you girls bails on me, I've got backups. And maybe we fight them and not a foursome all the time. So anyway, tonight's show I put For God, Family, Country, and that's to talk about a lot of things, but a lot of the heart-to-heart talks I've had with Annie lately has to do with her fight with breast cancer. And she has some great news that I'm hoping whatever she wants to share tonight about her fight, she wants to inspire others that are going through similar things. And what we've been talking about is how God sends us, and God sends us messages, and God tells us we're on the right path. And when you're a proud Christian patriot and a mama bear, like most of us here are, I think that having that discernment and having that connection with God and listening to God and that being part of our mission is always is number one. So Annie will speak on some of that, and then we'll also talk about, we have a charity where we're hoping to raise some money for cancer research. We want to kick cancer in the ass. Okay.
Oh, yes, we do.
And we want to help people like Annie fighting cancer. And that's for godfamilycountry.org. We'll get into that later too. But welcome, Annie.
Hi, welcome.
To the
Thanks
show.
for having me. I'm so excited.
And all the girls can just speak freely with you guys. Any questions you guys have for Annie tonight? She's our guest, and then hopefully she'll be a little co-host with us once in a while. So
love that.
Let's get into it. Annie, you had some good news this week. Kind of just tell us where you're at with the cancer fight.
Well, I am in my 4th cycle of chemo. I have 2 more cycles to go. So yay, May 24th is my last chemo, and I can't wait.
We're going to have a party. We're going to bring her out to Tahoe. I told her July, we're going to have a big party. We're going to celebrate.
I am very excited because chemo is awful.
Mm-hmm.
With chemo, I didn't really, my brother, unfortunately died. Yesterday was his anniversary of his death. He died 10 years ago of colon cancer at the age of 54. And so it was pretty surreal for me because never imagined 10 years later I'd be fighting, cancer myself, let alone stage 4 breast. But here I am. So that yesterday was a tough day for me, with that whole thing with my brother and everything. I wish he was here, but I'm going to be a warrior for him and show that you can still be cured, because that's my doctors intend to cure me with my stage 4. But Monday I had an appointment with my radiation doctor, who is going to be my guy, and with stage 4, I have it's in my liver, and my liver kind of dictates my prognosis and everything, what my next treatments are going to be and what they're going to do. And thank heavens to God, my liver tumor has shrunk big time. It's responding very well to chemo, and so radiation is not on the table right now. We're going to look at some other options for me, whether surgery or ablation, but they're very promising. And he's very, for my staging, even though it's stage 4, he has very high hopes that they can cure me. And we can close the book on that. Unfortunately, cancer will never be fully closed though, because being stage 4, I'm going to have to be diligent with my health going forward and stuff like that, and more aware. I tried to be before with my diet and exercise, but sometimes, God has other plans. And even though I'm not through my whole entire journey yet, I'm actually kind of glad that I got cancer, in a way, because it's totally changed me as a person, and the way I live my life day to day. And I owe it to God. So I'm actually thriving and living my life every day, which I don't think. I was just going through the motions of life and not really taking it all in. And so I love my I am a mom and I have 2 boys, and I love them to pieces. And since my cancer journey, we have gotten so much closer. Like,
That's
they are
beautiful.
we're extremely close. I mean, I don't know.
Well, and being close to your journey. I mean, I work close with her husband. I don't get to communicate with Annie all the time. I mean, we're both extremely busy. And I've been hearing such positive stories about how your journey has led to a fulfilled, beautiful life.
Yes.
You're enjoying your family, you're enjoying every day. And you did start your cancer journey. What you were telling me yesterday is, people bring up to us all the time, Fimbin and ivermectin and all this, kind of holistic homeopathic type routes. And Annie did do that for a long time. I mean, Tom is very connected with the Peter McCulloughs of the world and the Tenpennies and, Dr. Eric Naputi and things like that. So Annie's gotten some of the best support, and thank God that you have.
Yes.
And she knows about keto. She knows about, so I'm just putting that out there. She's done it all, and she's going to continue to do all those things.
Yes.
But what did you say? I hope I'm not, putting you on the spot. You were telling me yesterday about what led to having to do the chemotherapy and things like that, and how you felt like it was the path that you needed to take at that time.
Yeah. So when I got diagnosed in June of last year, officially, and I decided to do alternative, and go that route. I have done everything. I've done Fembin, I've done ivermectin, I did ozone therapies, B17. I was so diligent about everything. I mean, I was never missed any of my pills, anything. Worked out. I do keto, so I limit my sugars, all that stuff. But as I continued throughout, the course of last year and everything, God has spoken to me many times, and he kept showing me that I was going to have chemo, that I need to have chemo. And, knowing that, and knowing that God had my back and going into chemo, it's been, I've kind of been more of a warrior, with it and everything, and more appreciative of it. I don't think I would have been so positive if I would have started out with chemo right away, because I was just not in a really good headspace, at first. But then when God kept showing me through my, prayers and everything, and it was like chemo just kept popping up, and, I just came to terms with it on my own. And so
and you were an all-star athlete. I mean, you and Tom and your boys you're an athletic family.
Right.
So tell us a little bit. You've always been a runner and athletic, but tell me about Tom always raves about how your history in the athletics. So tell us about what you did growing up, because I know you have some records and stuff, girl.
Yes, I got so in high school, when I graduated high school, I had the Ethel B. Smith Award, which is like the best athlete in the, your senior class or whatever. As a freshman, I made varsity volleyball right away, starting lineup too. Same thing with basketball. I made JV, my freshman year, and, then softball, I started out with JV, and then I got bumped up and got to help with varsity softball through my whole career. And then I don't know. I was pretty athletic, as Tom would say. I didn't, and I feel bad. Like, it just came naturally to me. That's why I'm a boy mom, I guess.
Yeah, and your boys,
I'm so
I mean,
used
your
to
boys
having
are
balls.
like incredible.
I'm really good with
Yeah.
balls. There we go.
That's what she said.
That's what she said.
I have 3 older brothers. And so, I mean, way older brothers. And then in my neighborhood, I was the only girl with like 10 boys, So I've always been, tomboyish. But I like to be, I'm a girly girl too. But no, so that was like, it just came naturally. And then, I did get an offer a scholarship for softball, but I did not end up taking it. I ended up, I just was done, I guess, with it. I wanted to move on for my sports with that, but I always did work out and stuff like that and continued with that. And now I've love running. Running is my my go-to jam
and you've
now.
been running through your chemo,
Yes,
which is
yes.
incredible. I think that's to be commended. Huge. I mean, that's difficult.
Yes, that's one thing I pray to God on is that I wanted to prove. See, I'm the type of person, you tell me I can't do something, I'm probably gonna do it. Don't tell me I can't do something.
I think every girl on this call, a bunch of stubborn old girls on this call.
Yeah, I'm very stubborn, and my stubbornness has come in real handy with my cancer and how I handle it. But no, so I prayed to God, and I wanted Him to allow me. And if I only can do a mile, I only do a mile. But the other day I did close to 3 miles, and I felt amazing doing it. Now today I ran, and I did just a mile and a half. But it was a rough, but I did it. So I just take it day by day, but I just want to prove to other people who are going through cancer, you don't have to. They want you to be active. They want you to be yourself. My oncologist, he's amazing. When I told him I wanted to run, he's like, go ahead, run. Just don't, feel your body out, That's for sure. I mean, the one oncologist, when I first got diagnosed, I met, I said I was a runner, and he's like, if you feel like it. I'm like, really? It's not really what I want to hear, So that is a big thing with the whole cancer thing. I think is one of the most outside of God is finding an oncologist that's going to treat you as a patient, you as an individual, and and my oncologist has never told me to stop living. He's told me to continue living my life. So
I love that. And Annie and I have talked about the importance of having doctors that understand you as a patient.
Yes.
And I want to let the other girls speak a little bit, because I know Mandy's done a ton of research on a lot of things. Brooke has had numerous, health scares and things that she's gone through too. And I think a lot of it has led us to keto diets, exercise, cutting out sugars. Frankie's a big carnivore fan. And we all have our thing. Mandy knows a lot about the alternative stuff we talk about. The apricot seeds, people are bringing up that.
Oh, yeah.
The ivermectin, the Fembin, the CLO2, we follow Judy Mikovits and a lot of the research out there. And so I want to keep telling people we're very aware of that, and we'll talk more about that. You guys can go into it. forgodfamilycountry.org is a charity. It's a 501c3 that we're helping get the word out about, and we're raising money to help people like Annie get more real information on what those things really do and who they help and when. It's different when you have stage 1 to when you have stage 4. It's different when it's breast cancer that's metastasizing in your liver than when it's, a different type of cancer. All cancers are different. And so what Fembin might work great on, we would love to see us be able to kind of take all these pieces out and all these great things that we've discovered, like CLO2, and know when it works and how. And we talk a lot about how, the big pharma machine obviously isn't going to fund that type of research. I mean, think of how long CLO2 just exists, but they don't want us to know about the benefits. They don't want us to know about the parasites. And Mandy, why don't you speak on anything that's on the top of your head? Because Mandy's done all of our research, basically. She helps Tom with the research. And we have 3 posts, that we've done on cancer, real in-depth dives on Tom's Substack. So it's Tom, is it tomrenz.substack.com? Yeah. Right? Did I say that right? But on Tom Renz's Substack, look at these articles, but what are the 3 different areas you research, Mandy?
Well, I researched, I believe it was cancer as parasitic in origin, cancer as a metabolic disease, and then I think we did another one just as a cancer overview. Um, and I've done a lot of the stuff on like the Joe Tippins protocol, the Fenbin, ivermectin, things that you guys have already talked about. A lot of homeopathic stuff, like I might be saying this wrong. Curcumin. It's kind of I could spell it. I have a bottle of it like right there. But milk thistle, turmeric.
Yeah, the turmeric, the curcumin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that how you say it?
And that's all anti-inflammatory things too, and immune
milk thistle,
boosters.
CBD. But I think the biggest thing is that obviously Annie understands this, that not every tumor in the body is the same. So a person could have cancer and have multiple tumors.
Yep.
One could be parasitic, one could be something else.
And Annie does have tumors that are different, genetic.
Right.
They're different. Yeah.
So my one tumor did work. It did get smaller with doing alternative, but my main tumor, the HER2 positive, did not it didn't work for that. So that even my alternative doctors told me, even though God was telling me to do chemo, they told me that I needed to do chemo as well.
Yeah, you got to that point.
Yeah,
and that's the thing is like Mandy just said, you can have multiple cancers and tumors in your body that are going to react differently to different treatments. And this is the kind of stuff we want to research more. I mean, it shouldn't be fringe. We shouldn't even be calling this stuff homeopathic. It's treatments that work. People have been healed with these treatments. The mushrooms, the mushroom out of Japan, they have, I think, 40 studies on that thing, and it works on a ton of cancers. But like,
and I take that too.
In America, yeah, exactly. In America, we need to fund research to get to the truth of this stuff,
Well, like Dr. Lee Merritt, she comes from a position of that most illnesses are parasitic in nature. And then what happens is over our lifetime, we get exposed to these microscopic parasites that invade our cells. And then what happens is when they basically get too big, they break out of the cell. And that's when we see metastasis. And then there are other doctors. I want to say his name is Seafried. Seafried, cancer is a metabolic disease. Basically, we know that healthy cells are cancer cells are anaerobic, so they cannot survive in the present. They can survive without oxygen, whereas normal cells need oxygen. And when the cell is fermenting sugar and it's using sugar to basically get its energy, that's when the cancer grows. But if you were to do something like Annie's done, like a ketogenic diet, basically you're starving the tumor cells of the sugar that they need to survive. Thus, it's supposed to help. But I'm not a doctor, and I don't know that that's true.
Well, my first oncologist that I met, he didn't even know what a keto diet was. But my oncologist now knew what a keto diet was, and he actually told me to stay away from sugar. So, I know a lot of people are out there and but no, I do a keto diet. I stay away from sugar.
And Charlita Bassett was on or not on our show. Sorry, she was on Tom's. I would love to bring Charlita in, but she's running for Senate in California. She fought cancer a few times. And everyone, that comes on our show, we always pray for you, Annie, and we always are talking about people ask about you all the time. So she was asking. And that's the first thing she said. She told me about her story. It was phenomenal. I'll send you all the information, Annie. It's her pictures and her story are super inspirational. But she said, sugar.
Yeah.
You got to cut out the sugar.
Yeah.
Yep. The cancer feeds off
sugar.
of it.
And another thing that they talk about, what my doctors before I did allopathic was, a lot of people don't talk about this, but is your mindset. Cancer is probably 75% mindset. Having a positive mindset, and it takes a while to get there. I can tell you that. It took me a while to get there in the positive warrior, set, but I have 2 boys and a husband that I need to be strong for. And I was not going to let cancer define me. So it's just going to be a chapter here.
But I mean, that's the fear with cancer. I think what I love about talking about all these preventative things that you can do just lifestyle wise, like we're talking about exercise and ketogenic diets and things like that. But then, you know, all the research that Mandy's done on like what we call the homeopathic stuff.
Oh, yeah.
All this stuff is knowledge that breaks that fear down. The more power we have in finding out the truth to this stuff. And I think that's my biggest frustration is I hate that someone like you, Annie, because we talk about this all the time too, fighting cancer. People are always sending us emails, which is great. I mean, I'm not going to tell people to stop. We love it. Send us the prayers. We need prayers more than anything.
Oh,
Send us
yeah,
prayers.
please.
Yes. Donate to, you know, for godfamilycountry.org. We need prayers. We need funding more than anything. But people do send great notes to Annie, but they'll say things like FemBin. It has to be FemBin. You know, everyone sends all these ideas and they're all great, but it's like, as a society, I want to see real research done on these things because I do believe in them and they shouldn't be fringe treatments. And we should know when they work, where, why, and how.
Right.
Well, advocates for those treatments like Dr. Seafried, Dr. Merritt, they allege that the reason that more research is not being done is because there's no money in it.
No.
Why would they disrupt their billion-dollar industry to bring you cheap dewormers? You know, why would they do that? That's
exactly
their own empires.
My first chemo treatment was $117,000.
Yeah.
For one treatment.
For your antigen. Yeah. And
wow.
And how much is ivermectin? I don't even know. But I take that too every day.
Like 50 cents. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
you know,
our healthcare system, I mean, this should tell you all you need to know. You don't have access to the research we need. You were looking at both alternatives of homeopathic plus regular. So I was in healthcare for 20 years. They don't teach doctors bedside manner. So you're not wrong to feel like you need to connect with your physician or your nurse staff or anybody that is in that realm because like you said, it's mind over matter, right? So you chose to have a positive attitude. I've adopted the same thing. I've had 17 surgeries or 16. I'm getting ready for 17 in 2 weeks. But it's mindset.
Pray for Brooke too.
Yes.
Prayers for Brooke.
You got to have that team around you. And I've only fired like 2. I have let a couple doctors go. If you're not gelling with them, I'm going to tell you, like, patient to patient, if you're not gelling with somebody, I think bedside manner is important.
Oh, yeah.
I remember firing one of the nurses when I had my first son via C-section. She was just like aggressive and she was like demanding I do certain things. And I'm like, oh, no, that's not what we're doing today. And so the doctor came in, my doctor who I loved, and it's good to have people that you love in this journey and in healthcare. And I brought up how aggressive this nurse was. And she goes, do you want her in the room? And I said, no, I'm done. And she goes, okay, I'll let her go. My doctor told me the next day, she changed her attitude after that. We don't advocate for ourselves as patients. And being that I had a background in healthcare and then all the medical crap that I've had, I tell people you have to advocate.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's a colonoscopy or esophageal cancer, because I have a friend who has esophageal cancer. And I had to literally teach him, like, he wasn't getting appointments on time. And I said, you start calling them every day. I said, you have to advocate for yourself. Yeah, but of course, like Mandy said, they're not going to disrupt the billion-dollar business. I'm a huge advocate for cannabis. It's one of the things that I use to help medicate with all of my chronic stuff. But we have a cannabinoid system in our own body that matches the plant. The plant has a cannabinoid system. So God gave us all these things for us. And you look beautiful, by the way. I have a question. Have you played around with any fun wigs? I mean, I would not look cute like that, by the way. You look beautiful.
Well,
but have you played with any fun wigs or anything?
Brooke is our beauty pageant girl. Yeah. I told you, Annie. So she would totally she'd be rocking it. She'd have like.
Well, I looked at, my hair, the girl that does my hair, whatever. Yeah, I did look at wigs, but they are, I mean, they're very costly. You know, I mean, a good, decent like wig is like, $2,000. For a decent wig. Yeah.
Yes. I'd go dollar store scarves.
Yeah.
Because I already do that in the summertime.
I mean, but you know what?
You can rock it like that. Yeah.
I would tell you, I was, I don't know, like Tom shaved my head, which was very personable for me because it was very hard for me. I had beautiful blonde hair. Um, and that was really hard for me to let go. I did do cold capping, but my hair, I have a lot of hair, and I don't think my scalp got cold enough the first treatment. So I ended up losing my hair, but I'm actually keeping it now better. Since I'm
Awesome.
still doing cold capping, because it makes your hair grow in thicker and stronger.
What is
While you're cold capping is when it's like they freeze your scalp. You wear
during her treatments.
During my treatment, when I'm having chemo, I'm wearing like a football helmet, like an old style football helmet.
And Tom said she looks really cool in it. He said
yes.
He said when she first had to put it on, they were like
the
giggling.
boys like make me feel so beautiful. Or not when they laugh at me.
I'm gonna get a tiara
I'm like
for
a space
you.
cadet, but but no,
I love it.
So it like freezes my scalp, so it freezes all my hair follicles. And I will tell you that I am a proponent for everybody who's fighting breast cancer to do that. Because I tried to do it to keep my natural hair, and it just didn't get. My scalp didn't freeze, but I'm still doing it because they say it's good for your scalp. It's good for your hair growth coming back in. It comes in thicker and stronger and quicker too. Once I finish chemo. So, but I just rock my hair the way it is.
Yeah. And you look great.
So
thank you.
Amazing. Yeah.
I don't know. I've been, my two boys tell me every day I'm beautiful, which means a lot to me. Because I was very self-conscious at first, losing my long, beautiful hair. But it's just hair. And here I am.
I had a good friend in high school have cancer. She almost she went through a lot, but it was in her knee. She had a tumor. But she had to go through treatments, and she lost her hair. And her identical twin, I was good friends with all. She shaved her head, so the two of them
awesome.
stayed twinsies. It was fun, and I did it on almost shave. I had like a pixie cut because we were all just like having fun with it and supporting her. But it was really wild because I learned so much about the process. And when her hair came back, it came back curly.
Yeah.
And like because that's what happens with so it was like curly, and it was really fun, and she loved it. So she actually, in retrospect, she goes, I miss that hair because eventually it'll just be right where it was
normal,
before.
Right? Yeah.
But in the middle time when it was coming in curly, she was loving it. She actually loved
I would love to have
new
curly hair.
Yeah. Yeah. She's like, I gotta like love the small stuff. Right. So she was, it was coming out curly, but it's interesting too. Like they say that even like eyelashes and stuff, your hair comes back curly. Right. That happened to
Well,
anyway.
I still have eyelashes and eyebrows. So I think that's because the cold capping. Because my forehead gets pretty cold. It's like a frostbite almost. It's painful for like the first 10 to 15 minutes when you put the cap on. But then once your scalp freezes, the hair follicle freezes, then it's tolerable. So
wow.
Yeah.
That does not sound enjoyable at all. I'm so sorry. We need your helmet. We gotta like paint something.
Oh, you should. We will.
Laura, like I'm ready. We're gonna.
If boys can't wait to put on my helmet. I'm like, no, it's for my.
I always told Brooke that she's like my glitter girl. Like she does great. Brooke is amazing at doing events and planning and putting huge orchestrating big things. She's brilliant. But I always say she's like the one that will like glitter it up. I go, Brooke, yeah. When I'm doing an event, I'm like, Brooke, come in here and make it pretty. Okay. I've got like tables and chairs. She comes in and she's throwing glitter. And all of a sudden it looks gorgeous. Like, you know what I mean? So she's so cute. She wants to take your cap and put glitter on it, I think.
Well, you should see, you know what? My motto for when I look good, feel good. So when I go to my chemo treatments, I am totally dressed up. I am dressed up like I am going to church or, on a date with Tom or whatever. I am dressed up and, because I look good, feel good. So that's what I do.
That's a powerful thing for, I think, everyone to talk about. When you're dressed with your power suit on, like we got Brooke there, it really does change everything.
Yeah.
I learned that in politics a long time ago. I mean, I mean, Frankie's shaking her head too. We were just talking on a chat recently about Frankie said if I could wear a gala dress everywhere, I would.
I know.
I absolutely would.
She's like, I'd wear it to the grocery store.
I would too.
Like just imagine walking through, picking up a couple ribeyes in
I
a
know.
gown. Just
Yes. Let's
Yes.
do that. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, Frankie.
Should we make that trend? Should it be like a
Yes.
thing?
yeah, let's
Can
make
you
that a trend.
Grocery shopping in your gala dresses.
With
All
the
by
sunglasses on. Oh, absolutely.
Hey, you know what? When Tom and I got married, he took me to Walmart on our wedding night, and I was in Walmart in my wedding dress, getting a toothbrush for him because he forgot to pack a toothbrush. I mean, really?
Where were
Those
you?
are-
Were
those
you?
are the memories.
Were you in
Those are the
Ohio?
memories right
Where'd
there.
you-
Yes.
Where'd you guys get married? Were you in Ohio?
In Fremont, Ohio.
Tell
We
me it
got
was
married in
Fremont.
Fremont. Yeah,
It
we
was-
got married
it
in
was the
Fremont. And he took me
Fremont.
to the local Walmart on my wedding night in my
Fremont.
wedding dress. Buy a toothbrush.
That's amazing.
I love that.
That's
such a
awesome.
great story.
That is cute.
I mean, I didn't get any looks or anything.
Well, I'm sure. I'm sure.
It
they were
must have
like,
been late at night because that
It
would've been
was.
incredible
It
to
was
see.
like way late.
And
So
I
they
love that
missed
he
out.
really
They
needed a
missed out.
toothbrush.
He
Like,
did.
You're like, really on our wedding night? Could he he had to have it? Like he could not go
No, we had to have a toothbrush.
Listen. If that's the only thing the
Wow.
man forgot, round of applause.
yeah.
Round of applause. Because there could have been so many other things. If the one thing you forget is a toothbrush, you've done well.
Yeah.
You've done well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So
I can't wait to tease Tom the next time like he's in town and we all like go, have a meeting or go to dinner and share a drink and we'll all like give him some kind
need
of
a
like,
toothbrush?
form of teasing. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Bring a
yeah,
toothbrush?
do you need
Yeah.
a toothbrush? I mean, I went to Walmart today and got like 5. Do you need one? And he's probably gonna be like, wait, what? And then we're all gonna be laughing because we'll all have the inside story.
I know you have the inside.
He's gonna call me tomorrow and be like, I don't want Annie on the show ever again. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. I'm joking.
He's gonna
like,
call right
he's
after
like,
the
oh
show.
no,
What do you mean
worlds
tomorrow?
have collided.
Yeah.
All the women that work for Tom and his wife are all now best friends. He can't hide from us.
No, I love it.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
I love it too. So
It's
I
like,
mean,
welcome to the
another,
real world, Tom.
and I want to hear Frankie, you talk a little bit about the carnivore stuff because you're really educated on that. But again, tonight I wanted to talk about just being proud Christian patriot women and following God. So a lot of the inspiration, what we'll start doing is I really want to put out Annie's journey more, and she's been journaling. And I think what touched me the most when we talked yesterday, Annie, and it gave me goosebumps was when you said, you know, God told me that this was going to be my path. And I know that this is the path that I'm supposed to be fighting. And you are going to inspire and help a lot of people by just telling your story, just being who you are and talking about, I mean, what you've said tonight can help so many people that are fighting cancer. The things that you've done to be strong, the way you get up and you do the runs, even if it's hard, you just go as long as you can. The fact that you dress up to go in for your treatments.
Yep.
The relationship you're having with your kids and fighting the fear, because I think that's my biggest thing is cancer is such a big thing. There's so many types of cancers.
Oh.
And real quick, tell people about, you told me that when you were first diagnosed, didn't they say something about your age, being a woman?
Oh yeah. So when I when I was first when I found I also found the lump myself. I was in the shower and I found the lump myself. And so don't wait. I found it myself, told Tom about it. He felt it. We got in the doctors the very next day. Unfortunately, they couldn't do my mammogram and diagnostic ultrasound that same day. So, but my doctor at the time who felt it was like very cystic, and she was telling me it's probably a cyst, kind of. So I went the next day by myself. And that's when they kind of put it in my head that it was probably going to come back cancer. And so I was by myself. But it's okay. They were very nice, but they had told me, I'm going to be 45 in August, and they had told me it's not a good time to be a 40-something-year-old white woman right now because so many of them are coming down with breast cancer. And those were their exact words. Yeah.
Wow.
And
I
I
have a lot
know
to say.
from going for my MRIs now, I mean, I've been scanned up and down. Andrea can attest from all the appointments. I've been
Yeah.
scanned numerous
I do
times.
put all her appointments on a calendar. Mhm.
So, I've been scanned all over, and they say that cancer is, it's like on fire right now.
Yeah.
A lot of people are
We have
getting cancer.
the
And when I
turbo
was
Mhm.
and when
Mhm.
I was in the hospital, because my second treatment, I ended up getting pneumonia, and a UTI from chemo, just because my immune system was just ravaged. And I can't tell you up on the floor in the cancer center how many young people were in there. It was really upsetting to me. Very upsetting. Like, I'm talking like young, like in their 20s.
Well, and
And
Tom wrote about a young girl that you guys passed
oh, that
who
was a young girl. Yeah, that was really sad. Yeah.
didn't have anyone with her. So
No,
when we talk about the advocate work that you're talking about, Brooke, and how important that is,
it is.
and the money, like what Annie said, her first treatment, over $100,000. Who can afford
Ridiculous.
that?
That's
No.
Who can
ridiculous.
afford that? And then she's seen these young people. We're seeing these cancer wards get full to the brim. Young people who don't have any family members with them. They don't have any advocates.
No. And I will say, my one MRI, the tech who did it, she said that, and she was against the vaccine and everything, the COVID vaccine.
Yeah, and
And
Annie did not get the COVID vaccine.
no, I did not.
Annie did not get the COVID, but
No.
Annie was working in a school.
Yes, where there's
And
lots of kids
yes.
who got the vaccine. So I was
Exactly.
exposed to the spike proteins and stuff
Mhm.
like that,
Mhm.
the shedding. But the one tech who did my MRI, she said that the people who've had cancer who got in remission but then got the COVID vaccine, their cancers have came back like turbo cancers and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So they're seeing a lot of it, a lot.
And that's what we want to put the truth out there on with forgodfamilycountry.org. That's our 100% mission right now. This is a 501c3 that Tom's been involved with for a long time, and they've
Oh,
done
yeah.
a lot of great things for a lot of people. But I mean, one of the things that Annie and I talked about, what we'd love to do, raising money for godfamilycountry.org, is literally help people like Annie. They all deserve an advocate. Annie is beyond blessed to have an amazing family around her, and for to have a husband who's been in this fight. He knows the medical freedom space. He researches this stuff. She has great support. But the people
Yes.
who don't have support,
Mhm.
and the people who can't afford it, and the people who don't research things or aren't as aware as we are, right? Because this is the world we've lived in. I've been fighting this, for 4 years, been in the fighting for medical freedom. So, again, I am friends with Dr. Judy Mikovits. I can call her on the phone and get, when my family's sick, I have great doctors I can reach out to and get information. Most people, the average American doesn't get that information. They're eating McDonald's, they're drinking sugary drinks, and they're poisoning these people, and there's no information. There's no real truth or information coming out because Big Pharma, like we've said, doesn't want anyone to know the truth. So
No.
for godfamilycountry.org is where we want to expose the truth.
And I will say this, when I go to all my appointments, the first question out of the nurse's mouth is, do I know why I'm here? And then I'm like, why do they keep asking me if I know why I'm here? And then I tell them why I'm here. And they're like, do you know how many people don't know why they're here? Like when I went to see the radiation doctor, then they're like, do you know why you're here? And I'm like, well, yeah, because I'm looking at possibly having radiation, ablation, or surgery, on my liver tumor. They're like, oh, okay. They're like, you'll be so surprised how many patients don't even know why they're there. So you need to have advocates out there. If you can't advocate for yourself, you need to have somebody who will advocate for you. And Tom, I don't always say things as direct as him when I'm talking to my doctors, but he helps get the word out there.
He might scare the hospital because okay, so I'm the same way. When my grandmother, my grandma is my world, okay, and she's in her 90s now, but during COVID I was just terrified, like we all are. I still don't want to ever have to go to a hospital, but I didn't want my grandmother in the hospital. She had to go to the hospital. I think Mandy knew the story, and I worked for Joey Gilbert at the time. I was running his campaign, and I said, first of all, you're not testing her for COVID, because I knew what she needed. Okay. It wasn't that. And I said, and if I find out that she gets anywhere close to remdesivir, I will literally sue everyone in this place. Like the entire world will know what you did.
Okay.
And they did this anyway, everything worked out, but they did this thing where they wouldn't let me back in the room because of COVID. It was like my mom was in there and all of a sudden 2 people couldn't be in there, even though I was just in there. But I think it's because I was being sassy. And I called my attorney friends and, Joey's like, you're about to get arrested, aren't you? I'm like, yes, I'm about to get arrested. So I'm that advocate, but Tom is next level. He keeps going. I walked in there because when Annie had pneumonia, and when you had to be in the hospital, Frankie and I were doing a lot of work with Tom at the time. And Frankie and I were like, if you need us to jump on a plane, we're going to be there in 2 seconds. Like we were just really thinking of you. You were,
I know. Thank you for that. He told me that. Thank you.
We were like, we'll go there and we'll have food, whatever you need. Right. So, he goes, I went in there and I made sure that they knew if they get close to her with
the COVID-19, the vaccine, no testing, no everything. Yeah.
I can't imagine. That's like the best. I love stories of, your husband, Tom Renz, like scaring the pants off of these guys. Like he will sue you. Don't mess with Tom's wife. He will.
But he's also like scary to like, because he's so big, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's like a triple threat, right?
Yeah.
Because he's giant, and then he's like, he's an attorney, so it's like, oh, you better.
I was like, were you being mean to the nurses, or like, are they scared of you? No,
I'm not scared of him. I can take him. I'll get his stool.
I
said that.
Didn't he then buy pizza for everyone?
Oh, yeah.
I'm at the pizza place.
Nurses very well.
Yeah, he's
And
like,
the
I'm gonna buy
doctors.
pizza for everyone. I'm like, is that like your apology after you yelled at all of them? Don't mess with my wife. I'll buy you pizza if you behave.
Oh yeah, he was like, when he's leaving, he's like, make sure they don't swab you at all. I'm like, okay, I will.
I love it, but I mean, we can laugh about it.
Believe me, everybody got the message. When I got to the 4th floor of the cancer ward, my nurse already got the message. She got the memo. When I'm like, I don't want the she's like, yep, already know. They just called us and told us.
Like the whole hospital knew there was a memo that went out. They were like, every floor knew. You didn't even have to say COVID. They were like,
don't mess with Annie Renz.
They're having like shift change meetings. Like, hey guys, we need to sit down. There's new policies on 4-3.
But I mean, we joke
Isn't
about
it.
But
sad that you have to be like that, though.
That's my
like,
point.
Kinda.
I mean, Mandy says all the time. So Mandy is a disabled vet, and she's one of my favorite veterans of all time. Like she's right,
Awesome.
but she has you were a medic vet though, right? So she has medical background. So Mandy knows so much about what's going on with this tyrannical stuff going in our hospitals that she's told me like she will repair her and her family on her own long before she'll even consider going to a hospital, because going to hospitals is terrifying.
I impaled my foot this week.
I know, and she's like, I'm gonna figure it out. She's like, I'm not going to the hospital.
I had a metal spike go through my foot, and I was like, I'm not going to the hospital. I hobbled to the bathtub, yanked it out, called my son, poured some peroxide on it, and
oh my gosh!
But we don't want to go to hospitals because we're terrified of them. This is a problem, and this goes to the COVID, to everything COVID and the vaccines and everything. It's really sad to see how everyone has no trust at all in our medical system anymore, as we should. But it is really sad, and then it's sad that even though we're laughing about it, it's sad that you have to have advocates in there. And then when you think of what they did at the beginning of COVID, we called those. They were murders. They were hospital murders. They murdered people in the hospitals. And then they didn't let their family there.
No. They
were alone, isolated.
Yeah. The only reason I got to see my dad, because he's in the COVID unit, only reason I got to see my dad is because of Tom. Because he, made sure that I was able to go in and I was with my dad when he passed away. And it was probably the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, because he was ready. I mean, he was 80, 3 years old, and he was ready. To go, be with his maker. So it was beautiful. And I was so happy because our priest here in Fremont, Ohio, would not come and give my dad his final blessing. And my dad was a lifelong Catholic. And so for a priest not to come in and give my dad his last rites, that was awful. But thank heavens, a local priest at the hospital that we were at was not scared of COVID and came in and gave my dad his last rites, which was very meaningful for my dad and our family. I mean, he was a diehard Catholic, and I mean, that was everything to him. His faith is everything.
Beautiful. I mean,
So
I interviewed at the very, very beginning, before I even worked with Joey and others in the very beginning of 2020. I interviewed nurse Nicole Saratek, and she's actually out of Elko, Nevada, but she got on national attention because she was one of the nurses that was in New York, just going, "What are we doing?
yeah, I
We're
think
killing people."
okay.
Yeah, Nicole Saratek. We're also friends with Nurse Erin, and Nurse Erin is amazing. But Nicole Saratek was right there, and she was actually, I think, even before some of the Nurse Erin stuff. But I interviewed her, and I broke down in the middle of the interview. I started crying because she was telling me a story about how a patient, an older man that she was treating, he was dying. He was going to die, and they wouldn't let his family come in and see him. She actually went against policy, and she put him in a wheelchair, and she snuck him out of the hospital. She put in the back of the hospital by the garbage cans. She met with him and his family, and they said goodbye to him like that.
Ugh.
And so, I mean, that's from one nurse being brave enough to do it. All the people that died because alone, that didn't have those advocates, this is crimes against humanity. And this is, now we're living in the aftermath of that. You know,
Right.
now we're, again, people who, we're all terrified. We don't want to go to the hospital. And then especially if you don't have advocates, I mean, it's really terrifying. And so again, what we're trying to do with exposing Annie's story and all these stories and talking about this is, how do we help people? How do we get around this? How do we turn this? And I think it's through real scientific research. If we could
Yep.
fund, I mean, someone told me, you know, that when we're talking about forgotfamilycountry.org and the mission that we want to do there, they're like, "Oh, that's too big of a fight. It's $1 trillion industry. They'll never let you."
Oh no,
Do I
but we need it.
friends?
It's needed.
We have great scientists as friends, like Dr. Ryan Cole, Dr. Kimberly Biss, all these amazing people. I wonder if I could get a group of them to do real research and publish it. If we, the people, back it, we can make it happen. Our country's always been about that. We just need enough people to join the cause with us and wake up and get involved and care, right?
And I will say this, for the hospital I go to, that was one of my biggest fears, coming from doing alternative medicine, you know, to going to have to get allopathic. I had to have chemo, like that was, and I was like fearful. I didn't want them to say to me, you know, that I was, you know, stupid or an idiot for trying that. You know what? They never batted an eye. They never said I was awful for doing what I was doing. In fact, the radiation doctor on Monday says he doesn't like that term alternative. He thinks it's important for patients to have, you know, take the proper diet and vitamins and, you know, things like that. It's all for the patient. I've never, for my hospital, even my oncologist, I still do alternative. I still take all ivermectin. I still take everything. And they never told me I had to stop. So that's, you know, so there are good hospitals out there. I will say that. I know there's some bad ones out there. But the hospital that I'm particular in, they've never made me feel bad. And that was one of the things that I was kind of fearing going in. You know, I had that fear like everybody else does. They don't want to go to the hospital. Well, I had no choice but to go to the hospital. But they did not make me feel bad at all. They were actually very supportive, and they actually have integrated oncologists at the hospital that I go to. They think that vitamins and supplements like that are very beneficial to cancer patients and stuff like that. So
good. That's amazing. I mean, because our good friend Eric Naputi was, you know, sued for how many millions of dollars
for vitamin D?
for recommending that vitamin D might help, you know, with
Yeah.
COVID. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the tyranny when people bring it up, when Tom was on Dr. Drew yesterday, if you guys haven't seen the interview with Dr. Drew, please check it out.
Very good.
I'll put it in the description of this show so you guys can see it. But, you know, Dr. Drew always has to play that, like, I'm in the middle game. That's what he does. But he goes, I mean, why aren't there more people speaking out about this? And it's like, they have been shut up and censored. They've lost their jobs. I mean, we know that with Eric Naputi. Eric Naputi is a great family friend of yours, Annie.
Oh yeah, he is.
And they tried to destroy him
Oh yeah.
for recommending vitamins. I don't think that people understand. Dr. Tenpenny, and again, Tom was involved with fighting to get her license and everything back and all the fight that she's gone through. And I worked for Dr. Gold. She was fired for talking about hydroxychloroquine. I mean, these people get literally fired, and then they try to destroy their lives for speaking out on this stuff.
And speaking of hydroxychloroquine, my dad died of, I say pneumonia, but they said that he had COVID, whatever. My mom, who is on immunosuppressant therapies, because she has arthritis, was on hydroxychloroquine and never got it.
Wow.
Never got it.
And hydroxychloroquine is, again, we talked about how cheap,
inexpensive.
and they give it to pregnant women. You don't even give Tylenol to pregnant women.
Yeah.
But we were all called, I think HCQ was my first fight personally, because I was just building up my own social media in the beginning of COVID. I knew what was going on and I just had to talk about it. I'm like, I don't know what to do, but I'm going to start here. So I built up some big social media accounts, and HCQ was probably the first big bomb where people were saying that I was dangerous for speaking out about HCQ because I was going to cause death because it's a dangerous drug. And I'm like, you can take it when you're pregnant. It's been around for what, 50 years, Mandy? And they just give it to you like it's like Pez candy when you're going to places with malaria and stuff, right?
Right.
It's like, then in the military, the military, you can tell us what they did to you, Mandy. They stick you guys with everything.
I have been injected too many times. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not an anti-vaxxer, by
Yeah.
any means. I would consider myself that now, but
Oh, I wasn't either until COVID.
yeah, I've been injected everything. It's my opinion that I was an unfortunate recipient of one of the bad anthrax vaccines in the late 90s that they gave the military. And so I have a lot of health problems and I don't trust any shots. And as far as the hospital,
well, we don't trust any of them anymore.
No,
how do you trust them?
as far as
we've
the
lived through.
hospitals, my uncle died in the hospital. My mom flew to LA after he got that shot and he ended up in a stroke. They refused to let her in the room to say goodbye to her brother because she had come in from out of town and it was policy. And
that is the worst. I think that's the thing that makes me the most upset about everything we've lived through, that the crimes against humanity on that. There is nothing more sick and demented than not letting people say goodbye to their loved ones. I mean, it is just disgusting.
They're going to pay for it because I'm not going to stop until the people who did this
Amen.
are held to the fire.
We want Nuremberg too, but I always tell people the reason why we do these shows, the reasons why we talk truth like this, the reason why media for me has been my passion, God said, get the truth out there, is because we're not going to have Nuremberg 2 until we win some of these battles, right? We need people to understand what's going on, and the American people can do it. We just have to come together and unify and fight this. Again, that Dr. Drew show was great because, Sasha was talking about the states and the power of the states. She talked about marijuana at a federal level, illegal, but in the states, they can change that, right? There's a lot of things that at a state and a local level we can do to fight this tyranny, but we need people to get involved.
Well, and I like that Dr. Drew pointed out the myocarditis for boys. Having 2 boys myself,
why would you inject? Well, and he said that, and she talked about the pregnant women. We've never, ever given pregnant women a vaccine like this, okay? And then, he brought up the young people. There were no, and Tom said this, there were no healthy young people that died of COVID. No. So why the heck do you vaccinate them? And now they're vaccinating 6-month-olds and pregnant women, and the boosters are hurting a lot of people because the boosters, none of it's regulated, and that's what Sasha was talking about. None of it's regulated. So the boosters, when you look at those, they have crazy amounts of graphene oxide and different things, and it's all fluctuating. You don't know what you're getting in these vaccines, period. You don't know what's in them.
Right.
Gross.
You all know about my case that went to Nevada court. So Annie, I have 2 boys, and my ex and I had agreed not to vax our kids with COVID because they're healthy, 14 and 5. And he filed a bunch of motions in court. And this one, the judge said, she tossed out everything else. Sure, I'll have you guys come in. We went in. It wasn't that judge. It was a different judge. And that judge said, I think all children should be vaccinated. Put in a court order. I appealed it at Nevada Supreme Court. And 2 years later, they came back and said, oh, yeah, it's fine. He can vaccinate the kids. Now we're not even in this crisis anymore of COVID, right? But because they had to go off stuff that was in the case file from 2 years ago, they couldn't look at new data and different things like that. that's kind of where your husband comes in, because Joey and Tom were discussing how to get this to the Supreme Court level with your
Right.
husband having the Supreme Court license. But Tom's concern was that our Supreme Court was tossing out just even the healthcare cases where the workers were like, hey, we were forced. And they're like, we don't care. We don't care. We don't care. But the thing is that my kids still have not been vaccinated yet. And Joey even reached out to my ex, like, hey, like, you don't want to do this. This would be a very bad thing. So Grant, he and I have talked about it. He doesn't want it. And if at some point it happens, we'll have grounds for a medical lawsuit with my son. Do they have autonomy or do they not?
Yeah.
You're telling a 14-year-old they can change their gender. Why can't they say they don't want a vaccine?
Exactly. And Mandy was bringing up some stuff in some of her research recently of things going on in, was it North Carolina, Mandy? There was parents out there that are part of a lawsuit. And when I was Andrea Brockovich taking potential plaintiff phone calls for a lot of the attorneys we work for years ago, I got the phone calls. There's something in North Carolina that just a loophole that they say that this is legal, but a bunch of high school kids went to school and got vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccines without their parents' knowledge, because there's a certain age, when I looked into it, where their state law says, oh yeah, they're old enough. They're old enough to do it. Can you imagine if your kid just came home and said, oh yeah, I got the COVID-19 vaccine at school today?
They probably wouldn't want to come to our house.
Tom would have the axe and the flamethrower. And
Oh yeah, I mean, you can
like,
see
Annie, I'm going to jail.
Well, Andrea, that specific case, what it came down to, in my opinion, from my understanding, is states' rights versus federal rights. They ruled that the PrEP Act had precedent over the states' rights, and that's a big problem, because the federal government was created to aid the states and to work for the states, not to tell the states what to do. The states are supposed to be in control, and it's really, really time for people to start taking back their power from the federal government and asserting their state sovereignty. Amen. Because they literally injected that boy against his will, against his parents' wishes, and even though the judge said that it was egregious, I mean, if you would have done that to my child,
I'd be in jail.
Saving you. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
This wild.
The thing is too, I know they try to use all of this litigation talk, right, to scare people out of actually fighting back. But if you look at just the basic principles of it, it doesn't matter what age it is. You can say, well, they're old enough to do this or old enough to do this. What's their health history? What's their family history? Do they have allergies to something? You can't force an individual to take something when you don't know. The parents are the ones who understand their family history, if they have any type of allergies. If this treatment, this experimental treatment, could actually cause them harm, that could be fatal. Like, this isn't something you play around with. This isn't giving a kid a box of orange juice. And even then, you still don't know. The way that food allergies are handled is insane. If someone has any kind of food allergy, I mean, it is treated to the most extreme degree, because it could end that person's life. If
our kids can't have peanut butter. Our kids can't have peanut butter in the public school, but you're injecting them with a freaking COVID-19 vaccine. Like, what is happening? It's the most insane stuff on the planet.
Like
I can't even.
Vaccines, like, you can give them all those vaccines, but yet when you start them on food, Andrea and I talked about this yesterday. When you start them on food, you start out with cereal, and then you might do green beans, but you can't do carrots yet, because you're still working on the green beans, but yet you can give them all those vaccines.
Yeah. And I mean, when we were pregnant, we weren't supposed to have sushi or eat freaking hot dogs or cheese. But now you're injecting pregnant women.
Yeah.
The gaslighting is insane too. You tell people, oh, my child had a vaccine injury, or my child can't take this. And they go, well, I took it and I was fine. Well, go tell the person with a peanut allergy that the peanut butter sandwich is fine to eat, because you eat it just fine.
Yeah, force them to eat it and say, suck it up.
It's the same. Go eat some shellfish.
Suck it up, buddy.
Yeah.
That's our family motto, suck it up.
Here's the thing. I mean, it comes down to, I mean,
sorry, I'll calm down.
We've had this same conversation so many times. It comes down to you being educated on what's going on, right?
Mhm.
There's obviously been the suppression of information for politics, and now it's getting exposed that there's also secrets in the health industry. And for decades, if not centuries, um, we are told, well, this is a physician. They know what's best. You do what they say. And it's become this blind following of, well, this is a doctor. He's an expert. We should just do what he says. And you blindly follow. Oh, take this pill. Do this, eat this food. Okay, that's what my doctor said. He must be right. As if there isn't this concept of he's still a human being. He could be misdiagnosing you, and you could be treating the completely wrong thing, and you could be getting worse, and you have no idea. And it's this idea that if you don't become your own doctor, and so many people think that's crazy because that was, as you said, Andrea, you had your thing that made you dangerous when COVID happened. My thing was that I was telling people, you need to literally become your own doctor. If you don't understand your body, if you don't do the health research on what your body actually needs, physiologically, biologically, emotionally, mentally, it's all of these different factors that come together that all actually create or destroy your health. And you have to understand how all of those different elements play with each other. You have to understand what vitamins you need, what nutrients you need, how your blood flow works. It's all of these different elements, and if you don't understand how one counters another, you're going to screw yourself up. And if you're relying on these doctors that are clearly in the business of making money,
Keeping
you are
you sick.
never going to heal.
Yeah.
Because when you start researching these things, right? For example, was it Rockefeller that took over the
Mhm.
medical textbooks? I always switch in and out of that.
Rockefeller proudly said, "We will keep them
Proudly.
sick
Yes.
and stupid."
So they remove all of the medical textbooks that
Mhm.
are talking about natural herbs and natural medicine that we have
God gave
used
us everything
for
we need. Yeah.
centuries,
Right.
centuries, and then says we will be using these pharmaceuticals that, by the way, are just made out of petroleum and oil and chemicals
Mhm.
because they could make money off of that. And that is now the new standard. If you do the research and you understand that every standard that all of these ridiculous 3-letter organizations go by,
Mhm.
all of their studies are funded and bought and paid for. Every single one. So how could you possibly trust an organization that pays to manipulate results, to insinuate you or incentivize you to take their cures when they're also causing the problem?
The snake oil salesman.
So
Yeah.
how could you, if you know even a fraction of that, if you don't become your own doctor, you are becoming your own poison. You are poisoning yourself. You're becoming your own murderer because you are not taking this seriously, because you don't want to upset anyone around you. You don't want to say, oh, well, I don't want to stand out. I don't want to be an outcast. Who cares?
Yeah.
This
I mean,
is
that
your life. This
That's
is
why we
your
need
life.
a family country to do the research for the alternative stuff.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And the
Well,
and the
well,
fact
the
and the fact, Annie, that you said when you walked in there for your chemotherapy, and they said, "Oh, you being a 45-year-old lady, this is not a good time." First off, tell me when it's a good time to go in for cancer. Because I'm sorry, was I supposed to come in between like 25 and 27? Like, do Sundays work best? Like, well, I don't understand. Is this
well, I
like
love
a
that. They're like, "Yeah, you're screwed because we've been poisoned." Okay.
Oh yeah.
The only thing I was going to say to you real quick, Frankie, was the only silver lining out of the whole everything that we've lived through, the tyranny, the crimes against humanity, is that people are waking up to that too. The healing,
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, to be able to talk about Rockefeller like this, a lot of people know what you're saying now. When 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, people would be like, that's crazy. That's conspiracy stuff. People not going to the hospital, people knowing treatments, people knowing about parasites, people knowing about ivermectin and HCQ and all that stuff. I praise God that that's what's happening. There's an awakening going on, and God did give us everything we need. There are poisons and the genetic stuff going on with these vaccines. no good. Don't touch them. Don't boost. Never touch these vaccines ever again. They're trying to put modRNA and genetic changing
Well,
in
they're trying to do it with
everything.
cancer.
They're trying to
do it with
poison us.
cancer.
Yeah,
They're
so
looking at for cancer treatments now too. Cleveland
but
Clinic
God
is one
gave
of
us
them.
everything we need, and what we want to do for godfamilycountry.org and how we want to cure cancer is let's do a deeper dive into this stuff and continue waking up people to what exists that Rockefeller doesn't want us to know about, right?
Exactly. And the
People
thing
need
too to tie back that faith, because that's also a very, very important element, like you were
Yeah.
talking about. If you don't have that faith, your
Yeah.
body won't heal. And I know
Mhm.
for a lot of people that don't understand or aren't Christians, who don't have that faith or aren't a matured Christian, let's say, it's understandable to not see spiritually how that works, right? But if you break it down to physiological, biological explanation, if you're stressed and you're thinking negative, you're going to release more cortisol into your body, which now causes a chain reaction with everything else. Your brain is in survival mode, and your brain now can't release the chemicals that your body needs to heal. So now you're causing this negative domino effect that's destroying everything else. You're not getting blood to certain places. You're not getting nutrients that you need. Your organs aren't functioning at their highest capacity. So you're causing this chain reaction simply because you're stressed. So when you understand and you have that strong faith and you believe in God, which is another point that I'm going to get to in a second, but if you have that faith and you know God is going to heal you, you have a level of peace that helps you heal, because you no longer have that stress on your mind. Your brain is actually able to function and heal your body. Because the way that the body works, the body is incredible. They still don't understand 100% how the body works. So you can't 100% rely on a doctor when they don't understand everything. Our bodies can heal from practically anything. It's amazing. And that's not by accident.
It's
Not by
creation,
accident.
God's beautiful creation.
Yeah.
God's beautiful
I mean, the fact that
creation.
we've actually fought the poisoning that the devil's been raining on us.
That punk.
Yeah, right?
Gabriella.
So rude.
Oh, my friend
Yeah.
Gabriella, Ivan's fiance,
Yes,
Gabriella.
I was gonna say, punch him in the
him a
nose.
punk.
I love it. I love it. We were talking about doing a show with Eben. I always want to say it, but we were talking about doing a show with him, and he kept saying, we were talking about punching the devil in the nose, and I'm like, that's your show, punch the devil in the nose.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a punk.
He's
But
a
I mean,
punk. And you know what? That's
God's
true.
perfect creation with our bodies, it's phenomenal that we've actually been able to fight the poisons as much as we have, but fighting through the disinformation, fighting through the cabal's, attacks to try to keep us to be, half, machine, it's like we're living in the frickin' Terminator, series.
Well,
It's all sci-fi, but it's all true. It's what the
that
devil
Dr.
wants.
Drew interview when Tom was talking about the connecting to the internet like humans and stuff, that is
it's real.
That's
It's a
crazy.
thing. Yeah. All right, guys, we're over an hour, but it just was fun,
geez.
so I didn't want to stop y'all.
Sorry.
But I want to
This
get.
happens
Oh my God.
every week. Every week.
I'm up here. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning here.
I know Annie's on the East Coast. She's partying with us. Annie, it was so awesome having you on. But everyone,
Thanks
if
for
there's
having
any
me.
last words, any plugs you guys want to do, anything you want to say to people, we'll be back next week. It'll be May. It's the end of April, y'all. We survived another month.
I for sure just want to say head to forgodfamilycountry.org, because we are all there isn't even the right word, but the level of research and work that we are doing to make sure that all of this information and all of the research is done to help incredible people like Annie and other victims, not just from the COVID vax, but from cancer, and to make sure that we all have medical freedom, because if we don't have our health, what do we have? We have nothing. We have nothing. So if you learned anything from the show, if you like the show, support the show, love Annie, love Tom Renz, if
Give us thumbs
love
up.
anybody, if you think any of us are cute, just go support.
There's a whole lot of single girls on this stream, so
That
you
was
can.
hilarious.
There's a
That
high
was a good plug.
ratio of single ladies here. Help us single ladies work
good
on this
wing person.
research for godfamilycountry.org. Like, we need
I
your
love it.
help. Make a
I
change.
love it.
Make a
Thank you,
change.
Frankie.
Those
Yeah,
are my
I
last
love the
words.
plugs. I love the plugs. Mandy, you want to say goodnight to everyone? What do you want to say to?
JoeyGilbert.substack.com.
Joey Gilbert. Yes.
Like what Frankie said, if you have something you want to send, I am a size 30-acre farm, maybe somewhere in Tennessee, Alabama, I don't know, someplace. And I would just maybe say that as somebody who's spent a lot of time in the medical industry, your medical professionals are there for a reason, but realize that you have a right to be a part of your medical treatment as well. And what they say, they're not gods, okay? They can be wrong. Medical errors are one of the top leading causes of death. So there are mistakes being made. So if you're uncomfortable with anything that's being told to you by a doctor or anybody, get a second opinion. That used to be smart. It doesn't make you anti anything, and it doesn't make you a conspiracy theorist to just put in the extra research.
Yes. Having a conversation. That's another thing they talked about on Dr. Drew yesterday. Why are we scared of having conversations?
Because they
Yeah.
don't want us talking. They don't want us
Exactly.
talking.
Well, they're the science, and we
Preach
should
it,
just
Brooke.
stop and listen.
A lot of
They
people
want
in
us
our chat right
talking.
now,
They don't want us talking.
yep,
They
are
want us
saying keep
silent.
going. Yep.
It's
Yep.
part of what I've talked about in my book. I was just like wrapping up one of my chapters, and I said the silence was deafening. It's been deafening. And like Andrea said earlier, there's a wake up happening. It's happening all over. It's happening even with Democrats. There are a lot of Democrats that are like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is
They've
not
gone too far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to give a shout out to Mandy for coming to help support me tonight as I spoke to a really lovely South Reno conservative group. They're having me back 2 more times.
Good for you.
And people can go to Our Parental Rights. It's on Substack, or they can just go to ourparentalrights.org. The stuff that we're doing, my book goes to the publisher on Tuesday. So we've got some big things that are happening. Help support people like Annie, who are in the fight, and absolutely advocate for yourself. Fun fact, you can also refuse treatment too. And people, I think, because they don't speak up and they don't advocate, they don't know when to say yes or no to stuff. And I will tell a quick, short, cute little funny thing real quick. So I've had pre-colon cancer and I've had a section removed and stuff. And one time I got really sick. I had one roommate when I was in my 20s, took me to the hospital, and he goes, we're going to have to do a finger check or something. And I was like, you were not putting anything up there. I was really silly.
That's what she said.
I needed everything checked, but I was all loaded up on drugs, and because I was in the hospital and I was in a lot of pain. But yes, you can advocate. You can refuse if something doesn't meet your plan. You can refuse treatment. I tell people, take a notepad, write questions, ask all the questions, email your doctor later if you have other questions. But I love everything that all of us are doing. We're all in the fight. Support Joey, support Tom, support America Happens, support me, support God, family, country. Amen.
And send me a 30-acre ranch.
Listen, if we're taking requests, I'll take
5 acres.
I'm
5 acres.
I'll just take a few ribeyes.
Oh yeah. Frankie and I only eat meat, so y'all got some steak. That's all.
We only accept ribeyes as currency around here.
I've been telling my clients, like, I don't need a bonus. But you could sign me up for some of that steak that gets shipped in the mail. Like, that's what I want.
Great.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's all I need.
Great.
Annie, beautiful Annie Rins, we love you. We pray for you all the time. We're so happy you're doing good. I know you're turning this thing, and I'm so happy to help you get your story out there, inspire others, and let's freaking fight this cancer and help other people. So you get the last goodbye tonight. What do you want to tell people?
Well, thank you for having me. It's been fun. I'm the fun one, just so you know.
We work with Tom, we know.
Everyone on the call, Annie, is talking about your laugh and how wonderful your laugh is too. They're like, Annie has the best laugh.
The most beautiful.
Pretty loud. No.
That's good.
No, I am, here I am. I'm stage 4 metastatic cancer, and I'm going to be cured. So all of you out there who are fighting cancer or anything, they tell your staging. That is man is telling your staging. God will you know, he's the one that says when it's time for you to go.
Mhm.
And they intend to cure me. And just like Brooke said, when I was filling my consent form, there was 3 boxes. There was intend to cure, there was managed care, and there was palliative. And if they did not check intended to cure, I was going to go somewhere else.
Amen.
Until they found, you know, because you can refuse, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, please support my husband at tomruns.com. And we are professional grifters, I guess. I think he said on his show today he wanted to buy himself a Timex watch.
And he would never do that. He's just,
I mean, maybe that's a hint to me for Father's Day. I don't know.
I don't think I've ever even seen him wear a watch.
No,
No,
he
he
does,
just-
but he takes it off because I mean it's nonstop.
oh, he's got one of those like ones that connects to his phone.
I mean,
Yeah.
my youngest son and I said if we could throw his phone out, we would love to.
Yeah.
This is true. This is
Yeah.
true. Your family's amazing. American heroes. You guys are fighting for everyone. And I'm so happy to bring you in on the show, Annie, and we'll have Annie back.
Thank
and
you.
we love you guys. We will be back next Thursday night. Same time, same place. America Happens. Vim Miller, we love you. Tom Renz, we're on the Renz Network. TomRenz.com. Peace out. And we got to say bye.
Bye.